Well, lawfare is a term used by both major political parties to describe the weaponization of the legal system to attack political opponents. In a new podcast on his website, Seeking Rents, our guest, former Orlando Sentinel reporter Jason Garcia, says Florida's governor is using lawfare to remove Democrats from office, not because they've broken the law, but over policy differences. So let's, Jason, tell us more about who's been removed so far in the podcast that you've done.
Yeah, and so we should start by saying what we're talking about here is the suspension power that the governor has under the Florida Constitution, which is obviously gives him the ability to suspend essentially any locally elected official in Florida, and obviously that's a pretty anti-democratic tool. Elected folks. So historically, this has been a power that has been used sparingly. And it's also important to note that the Constitution is pretty vague about when this power should be used. So there's a couple of cases where it says in the commission of a felony, which is pretty clear cut. But it also says in cases of neglect of duty or malfeasance or incompetence, right? These are terms that are not defined in the Constitution and are not really well defined in state law. So there's broad latitude to do this. And historically, governors have used this power very sparingly, primarily when someone commits a crime. What we've seen under Governor DeSantis is a willingness to use this power to suspend locally elected officials, all Democrats so far, who have challenged, who he disagrees with their policy. So we've seen it happen now everywhere from the sheriff of Broward County when there was anger over the sort of poor response to the tragic Marjorie Stoneman Douglas high school mass shooting, to a pair of prosecutors, Andrew Warren in Tampa and Monique Worrell in Orlando, over what essentially amounts to disagreements about how aggressively they are prosecuting certain crimes.
So, but doesn't the governor have kind of broad authority? For instance, the Florida Supreme Court just sided with the governor in the Monique Worrell case. The Florida Supreme Court backed up what the governor did.
Yeah, that's exactly right. In terms of as I said, the Constitution is very vague, and the legislature has never really colored in to sort of try and put parameters on what these powers are. And as I said, other governors, because this is such a big power, such an anti-democratic power, have used it very sparingly. So I'll give you one classic example. A few years ago, the state attorney in Orlando announced a policy that she would no longer pursue the death penalty in any cases. It's just a blanket, no death penalty case. Rick Scott could have made a case to suspend her, claiming that was neglect of duty or malfeasance or incompetence. He did not do that. He removed all death penalty cases from her jurisdiction, but he did not remove her from office, because the accountability mechanism in these cases are the elections, right? If voters think that. And so you're right that the Florida Supreme Court has sided with Ron DeSantis, but this court has basically said the governor can do whatever he wants. We have no role in this. They're not going to challenge him in any way.